Welcome to Muslim Storyboard, where we bring you powerful stories that inspire hearts and change perspectives. In today's video, we dive into a moment that captured the attention of the world, a breathtaking Tarawih prayer held right in the heart of New York City. This wasn't just a gathering of worship, it was a symbol of unity, peace, and spiritual strength in a city that never sleeps. From curious onlookers to unexpected reactions by global figures, what unfolded that night was more than remarkable, it was history in the making. Stay with us, because this story will move your soul. Dear everyone, who would have imagined that in the heart of New York City, amidst its towering skyscrapers, honking traffic, and bright neon lights, thousands of Muslims would gather not for protest or spectacle, but for peaceful Tarawih prayers under the open sky? The scene was nothing short of breathtaking. As the call to prayer echoed through Times Square, a place known for noise and chaos fell into a serene silence. Rows upon rows of worshippers aligned in perfect unity, bowing and prostrating as the verses of the Quran flowed through the air. For many onlookers, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, it was a moment of deep awe and inspiration. No microphones commanded them, no supervisors arranged the lines, yet everyone moved in synchrony, as if led by something far greater than themselves. This was not just a public act of worship, it was a living portrait of discipline, peace, and spiritual strength. For some non-Muslims, it was their first real encounter with the beauty of Islam, unfiltered by media bias or prejudice. A simple yet profound realization dawned upon many: Islam is not what headlines say, it is what hearts do. Even figures known for their criticism of Islam, like Donald Trump, were reportedly moved by this sight. And how could they not be? It was a moment that transcended politics and religion and spoke to the core of the human soul, the longing for unity, for connection, for peace in a fractured world. For Muslims who often feel hidden or silenced in the West, this was more than just a prayer, it was a declaration: we are here. We are peaceful. And we will worship our Lord with dignity. This night wasn't just an event, it was a miracle in motion. For many years, Muslims in America have walked a fine line, balancing their faith quietly in a society where their beliefs are often misunderstood or misrepresented. But that night in New York, something changed. As thousands of Muslims filled the streets of Manhattan for Tarawih prayer, something powerful awakened in the hearts of Muslim Americans: pride. Real, raw, and radiant pride. No longer tucked away in small prayer rooms or quiet corners, the Ummah stood boldly in the heart of one of the world's busiest cities, reclaiming space, reclaiming dignity. It wasn't just about prayer, it was about visibility, about identity, about finally being seen. And not just seen, but respected. Many Muslims grew up questioning whether they could truly be both American and Muslim. Could they proudly wear their hijab, keep their beard, or pause for prayer in a boardroom without fear of judgment? Events like this answered with a resounding yes. Seeing their faith celebrated openly, respectfully, and peacefully in Times Square, a place once symbolic of Western excess, gave them a renewed sense of belonging. It reminded them that Islam is not a foreign entity in America, it is part of its tapestry. Women in hijab stood confidently, shoulder to shoulder with brothers in faith. Converts like Sarah felt the deep embrace of a spiritual family, while born Muslims like Ahmed, who once feared to express his identity, now held his head high with tears in his eyes. Young Muslims, watching from home or social media, felt empowered to own their identity unapologetically. This event gave voice to a new narrative, that being Muslim in America is not a contradiction, it is a testament of courage, resilience, and spiritual strength. That night, Muslims didn't just pray, they rose. And in doing so, they sent a clear message: we are here, we belong, and we are proud of who we are. Islam in America is no longer in the shadows. It is in the spotlight, and shining brighter than ever. The night of the Grand Tarawih prayer in Times Square did not only stir the hearts of Muslims, it deeply intrigued and moved non-Muslims who witnessed the extraordinary scene. To them, this was not just a religious ritual, it was a moment of profound harmony, silence, and spiritual beauty unfolding in the very heart of a city known for its chaos. People of various backgrounds paused their hurried steps, put down their phones, and watched in awe. Curiosity bloomed where once there might have been hesitation or fear. The rhythmic recitation of the Quran echoing through the steel canyons of Manhattan didn't repel, it magnetized. Many had never seen Muslims outside of media stereotypes, but that night they saw something entirely different: peace, discipline, order, and unwavering faith. Some took out their phones not to mock, but to record a moment they couldn't believe was happening. Others approached worshippers and volunteers with genuine questions. What is this prayer about? Why are they praying in the street? Was it mean? These were not questions of suspicion, but of wonder. Individuals like Michael and Jessica mentioned in the story spoke for many. After witnessing such unity and tranquility, they felt compelled to learn more about Islam. For the first time, they saw Muslims not through the lens of headlines, but through their own eyes, humble, sincere, and devoted people standing in worship under the open sky. Even conservative figures and media outlets, once quick to criticize, began to shift their tone. Respect was planted where doubt once lived. This single event, quietly but powerfully, became a form of peaceful Tao, one that softened hearts and opened minds without a single word being preached. It reminded the world that when truth is embodied in action, it resonates far beyond language. The glow of that night lingers still in conversations, in hearts, in the minds of those who walked by and left changed. The peaceful presence of Muslims in the public square didn't demand attention, it deserved it. And it received it with reverence, curiosity, and, in many cases, newfound admiration. Among the many surprising moments surrounding the Grand Tarawih prayer in Times Square, none was more unexpected than the emotional response of former U.S. President Donald Trump. Known for his firm stance on immigration and his controversial policies toward Muslim-majority countries, especially the infamous Muslim ban, Trump has long been perceived as unsympathetic, even hostile, toward Islam. Yet when footage of thousands of Muslims praying peacefully in the heart of New York City went viral, something in him seemed to shift. Sources close to his political circle reported a rare moment of silence and reflection as Trump watched the video. He appeared genuinely moved, his usual sharp demeanor softened. "This is a sight I've never seen before," he reportedly said. "There's something interesting here. Something we should pay attention to." This reaction sparked speculation across media and political circles. Was this a sign of genuine emotional awakening, or merely a calculated move in light of America's growing Muslim population and voter base? Regardless of motive, the moment was significant. For a figure as polarizing as Trump to acknowledge the beauty and unity of a Muslim gathering, especially one so public and massive, was a symbolic crack in years of rhetoric that had painted Muslims as the other. His observation of the Muslim community's discipline, strength, and unity during Ramadan sparked a new kind of dialogue, even within conservative media. Some outlets that once linked Islam to fear now aired segments on the peaceful nature of the Tarawih prayer, subtly shifting the narrative. Skeptics argued it was political strategy, while others hoped it was a turning point in Trump's personal understanding of Muslims in America. Either way, his reaction amplified the impact of the event. If someone like Trump could be moved, even momentarily, by the sight of Muslims worshiping in harmony, then perhaps the walls of misunderstanding and prejudice were beginning to crumble. For many Muslim Americans, it was a glimmer of hope that perhaps even the most hardened hearts can soften when faced with the undeniable light of faith, order, and peace. And if that change could start with someone like Trump, then maybe, just maybe, it could spread far beyond. One of the most powerful and emotionally resonant aspects of the Tarawih prayer event in Times Square was the breathtaking display of unity. Thousands of Muslims from different backgrounds, ethnicities, and cultures stood shoulder to shoulder in perfect rows, facing one direction, worshiping one Creator. There were no announcements needed, no loudspeakers calling for order, just a seamless, instinctive harmony that left even non-Muslims in awe. This visual unity was more than just an organized act of worship, it was a profound statement to the world. It showed that Islam, at its heart, is a religion that transcends race, class, and nationality, binding hearts through faith and humility. The sight of men and women bowing and prostrating in unison amidst the towering skyscrapers of New York was a symbol of spiritual order in the midst of worldly chaos. It sent a silent yet thunderous message. This is Islam, disciplined, peaceful, and united. For many onlookers, especially those unfamiliar with Islamic practices, the rows of worshippers moving in perfect synchronicity were not only mesmerizing but also deeply moving. Some admitted they had never seen such cohesion and collective devotion. A simple command, organize the rows, was all it took to transform a bustling urban street into a sacred sanctuary. To many, this unity wasn't just external, it reflected a deeper spiritual bond that Islam fosters among its followers. It's the kind of unity that doesn't require words, just shared belief and submission to something greater than oneself. Even new converts and those exploring Islam were struck by this harmony. Some said it was the quiet power of that moment, the orderly lines, the stillness, the recitation, that first stirred something in their hearts. In a world increasingly divided by politics, race, and ideology, this scene offered a glimpse of what true unity looks like, not enforced by law or fear, but born out of love for the divine. The Tarawih prayer in Times Square reminded everyone, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, that faith has the power to unify where nothing else can. And in that unity, there is strength, beauty, and a peace that can't be explained, only experienced. The impact of the Tarawih prayer in the heart of New York City extended far beyond a single night or a single location. It rippled across America and reached hearts around the world. What began as a congregational act of worship turned into a global moment of reflection, inspiration, and awakening. Videos and images of the peaceful prayer under the bright lights of Times Square quickly went viral, circulating across social media, news outlets, and online platforms. Muslims across the United States felt a renewed sense of pride and strength, realizing they were no longer hidden, but seen. From California to Texas, from Florida to Illinois, mosques and Islamic organizations were inspired to hold similar events, open-air prayers, community iftars, and public educational sessions, showcasing the beauty of Islam to the wider public. Even in countries beyond the U.S., Muslims look to New York with admiration and hope. For communities often marginalized or misunderstood, the sight of thousands peacefully worshiping in the center of one of the most iconic cities in the world felt like a breakthrough. It proved that Islam can not only coexist with Western values, but it can also enrich them. It became a model of how faith, when practiced sincerely and respectfully, could bring about societal harmony rather than division. Moreover, the event encouraged Islamic leaders and organizations to become more active in engaging with their communities, both Muslim and non-Muslim. Interfaith dialogues increased, curiosity about Islamic teachings surged, and many Islamic centers reported a higher number of non-Muslims attending open mosque days and lectures. Converts who once feared public scrutiny found courage in the images of peaceful unity and began to speak more openly about their journey to Islam. Some media outlets, traditionally skeptical of Islam, began shifting their narratives, choosing to highlight stories of love, community, and devotion rather than fear. This ripple effect wasn't just social, it was spiritual. People from different walks of life, even those with no prior religious background, found themselves drawn to the discipline, peace, and order they saw in the Muslim community. Many asked questions, some began reading the Quran, and a few even embraced Islam. That night in New York wasn't just a prayer, it was a spark. A spark that lit hearts, challenged perceptions, and reminded the world that when people of faith stand united, even the hardest walls of prejudice can begin to crumble. In the tapestry of American identity, Islam is emerging as a vibrant and undeniable thread, woven not as an outsider's element, but as part of the fabric itself. The Tarawih prayer event in the heart of New York City served as a powerful reminder that being Muslim and being American are not contradictory identities, they are beautifully complementary. For years, many Muslims in the United States have walked a tightrope, trying to uphold their religious values while navigating a society that often misunderstood or misrepresented their faith. But that night, under the city's bright skyline, they stood with confidence, not in hiding but in harmony, reclaiming the public space as their own without conflict or fear. Young Muslims especially felt the impact. Many who had previously struggled with expressing their identity, fearing mockery, rejection, or discrimination, found newfound courage. The images of thousands standing shoulder to shoulder, praying in peace and dignity, were more than just symbolic. They were empowering. They told every hijab-wearing student, every bearded brother in the workplace, every convert learning to pronounce Arabic words in prayer, you belong. You matter. Your faith is not a burden, but a badge of purpose. The message was clear: Islam has a place in America's future, not just in its present. What was once a struggle to explain faith to peers, to justify moments of prayer at school or at work, is gradually transforming into a climate of acceptance. That night, Islam was not defined by headlines of conflict, but by visuals of peace, discipline, and unity. It challenged the narrow definitions of what it means to be American. From politicians to pastors, from teachers to students, hearts opened. Many began to see that being Muslim in America was not about opposition, it was about contribution. This public affirmation of identity also gave rise to more Muslims participating in civic life, from community activism to political involvement. No longer were they content with being sidelined, they were stepping into their roles as stakeholders in society. The Tarawih prayer wasn't just a spiritual gathering, it was a proclamation: Islam is here. It is part of the American story. And as more Muslims embrace their dual identity with pride, the landscape of America continues to be reshaped, not with division, but with diversity rooted in faith and unity. Despite the beauty, unity, and inspiration evoked by the Tarawih prayer event in New York City, it did not come without challenges or critics. In a nation founded on religious freedom, the very act of Muslims praying peacefully in public space became a lightning rod for controversy in certain circles. Conservative voices questioned the precedent being set, arguing that allowing Muslims to worship in public streets might open the door to similar requests from other religious groups. Some even framed the gathering as a threat to secular order, revealing the persistent undercurrent of Islamophobia that still lingers within parts of American society. These reactions are a stark reminder that even moments of peace can provoke fear when they challenge long-standing misconceptions. For many Muslims, the criticism was not surprising. It echoed years of suspicion and prejudice that followed them through airports, classrooms, offices, and media portrayals. Yet, what was once a cause for silence has now become a motivation for strength. The community, rather than retreating in the face of skepticism, responded with grace, understanding, and education. Leaders of Islamic organizations used the moment to reinforce the values of tolerance, inviting dialogue and deepening their connections with local authorities and interfaith communities. By doing so, they transformed backlash into an opportunity, a chance to show the true face of Islam. Still, the challenges are real and enduring. From the hijab-wearing girl who faces stares on the subway, to the bearded man pulled aside for random checks, to the mosque communities grappling with zoning restrictions, the battle for acceptance is ongoing. But the New York prayer event served as a shift in momentum. It demonstrated that Muslims are no longer willing to be invisible. They are here peaceful, organized, compassionate, and they demand to be seen as equals, not exceptions. Moreover, this resistance to their presence only strengthens their resolve. With every negative headline or suspicious glance, there arises a deeper commitment among Muslims to live their faith proudly, to explain their beliefs patiently, and to serve their neighbors compassionately. In a world of noise and division, their quiet rows of worship became louder than hate. It reminded critics that Islam, when practiced sincerely, does not threaten society, it elevates it. The Tarawih prayer was not a disruption of public life, it was a healing presence within it. The impact of the Tarawih prayer event in New York City extended far beyond the spiritual. It rippled through America's political and cultural spheres. Politicians, once hesitant to engage with Muslim communities, began to see the value in supporting a group that is not only growing in number but also in civic participation. Democrats embraced the event as a symbol of religious freedom and diversity, while even some Republicans, including Donald Trump, appeared to soften their stance, recognizing the political weight of the Muslim vote. Culturally, the moment challenged old narratives. The media, often quick to spotlight extremism, shifted its tone to highlight unity, peace, and inclusion. Prominent outlets featured interviews with Muslim leaders and converts, presenting Islam in a humanizing and inspiring light. The sight of thousands praying peacefully amid the skyscrapers of New York pierced through decades of mistrust, reshaping public opinion. For Muslim Americans, this signaled a new era, where faith was no longer hidden but honored, where Islam was not a whisper in the shadows but a voice in the public square. The prayer event marked not just a religious gathering, but a powerful turning point toward broader acceptance and recognition in the American social and political fabric. One of the most profound lessons drawn from the Tarawih prayer event in New York is that peaceful presence can be more powerful than any argument. In a world often divided by fear, misunderstanding, and noise, the simple act of Muslims gathering to worship openly, humbly, and harmoniously became a symbol of resilience, identity, and hope. It reminds us that sometimes the most significant change happens not through confrontation, but through sincerity and consistency in who we are. As someone reflecting deeply on life, this moment teaches me the importance of standing firm in faith, while extending hands of understanding to others. It challenges me to ask, how can I be a living example of the values I believe in? How can I show love, discipline, and unity in a way that inspires, not imposes? The image of thousands silently praying, undivided by race, class, or background, offers a powerful metaphor. We are strongest when we move together, rooted in purpose. No matter our stage in life, it's never too late to embrace our beliefs more deeply and contribute quietly but meaningfully to the harmony of our communities. That, perhaps, is the most enduring act of worship, living with integrity, compassion, and peace.